All right, let's look at some of this stuff. We welcome back our great friend, Senator Rob Portman of Ohio, member of the Finance Committee, who has helped us on so much of the things here. Senator Portman, welcome back again. Can I just clear up one thing I'm trying to figure out? On this 15% minimum tax, now is capital investment carved out? So you can still use the 100% expensing. I've heard different versions of this, and I'm not sure I understand it, but this might be, in some sense, the single most economic consequential thing that's going on here. What can you tell us, Senator Portman?
Well, Larry, we had some wins and a lot of losses, unfortunately, in the last 48 hours on this. One of the small wins is that we finally convinced them that you ought not to subject manufacturers who are taking advantage of the ability to write off investments in equipment. You ought not to include them under the book tax. And so that was carved out. But that's a little solace because, unfortunately, what they did was they then turned around and not only didn't carve out other things they should have, including for the oil and gas industry, the coal industry, including for ESOPs, employee stock ownership plans, but also they added a new tax to make up for the tax revenue loss that was going to occur relative to their initial proposal because of the manufacturing carve out. So it's unfortunately not much better, but to your point, the last thing we want to do is to discourage investment in America. This bill does that, but it doesn't do it quite as badly as it was initially calculated to do. Now, what they did was, to make up for that difference, in part, they put a excise tax on stock buybacks. What does that mean? Well, it's 1%, so they say it's not going to affect it much. But by the way, you can dial up 1% pretty easily. It's a new tax in essence. So just as the book tax is a new tax system for larger companies and now to calculate their taxes, adding a lot of complexity, both in terms of the IRS income definition, but now also the book tax, the new book tax income definition. But also there now is a new excise tax for the first time on stock buybacks. The effect of that, in my view, is to discourage companies from helping to improve the price of the stock, which helps retirement plans, a lot of other investors, at a time when they have excess cash available. It's a relatively good place for them to invest, in my view. So there's a lot of stuff in here that discourages me, Larry, but the worst thing to me, the healthcare stuff, the energy stuff, you know, what they're doing in terms of these various tax provisions, the worst thing is they've added a lot of complexity to the tax code, as you said, not just the tax credits and the other preferences on the energy side, but also this new book tax that just affects certain businesses and not others, and then this excise tax that is new as well. So I think it's really sad what's happened, and my hope is that with a Republican Congress and a Republican president, we can reverse all of this and get back to a simpler tax system that encourages economic growth.
With carve-outs, you know, it's not only are the credits bad, not only is the increase in taxes bad, but it's always these specific carve-outs for specific interest groups. It's all a lot of rent-seeking. All the green tax credits are exempt from the minimum tax. Pensions, union pensions, retirement pensions exempt. CHIPS, all the CHIPS credits are exempt, as I understand it, both the tax credits and the refundable tax credits. And then Spectrum is exempt, that's 5G. I mean, here's the thing. The reason I'm railing on about this so much is not only does it enormously increase the power of government in Washington, but the complexity, Senator Portman, is indecipherable. I mean, you know this, tax credits are spending through the tax code, but they have all kinds of rules and regulations that go with each other. By the way, child tax credits, earned income tax credits, you know, there's a lot of chicanery involved in this stuff, but there's a lot we don't know. These bills this year are making all of this worse. Not better, worse. You know,
yeah,
Laffer always talks about this, Rob. Laffer says if you have a simplified, flatter tax system, right, you'll get less tax avoidance. This stuff promotes more tax avoidance, so then we have to have another 80,000 agents from the IRS. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Larry, one thing they did was to pull out Spectrum at the last minute, and that was one of the small wins we got in the last 48 hours. but there's been no process here. So this is called reconciliation. That means that Democrats can do it without a single Republican vote. It has to be related to the budget, but it also means it doesn't go through the committees. In other words, the Senate Finance Committee, the House Ways and Means Committee, never looked at any of this or knows what the consequences are. So the new excise tax, whether you pull Spectrum out or you don't, what happens to manufacturers, all this stuff was kind of done at the last minute in the dark of the night, and that's not how we ought to be legislating. America's economy is the envy of the world, and there are a lot of reasons for that. But one is, we have relatively low taxes, relatively low regulations, well, in most areas, and we encourage people to take that risk and to create something of value for themselves and their workforce. And this is picking at it just piece by piece. And again, it's an unforced error. It's going to make us less competitive. It's going to hurt lower and middle income workers, and it's going to hurt consumers. When you tax these companies, and by the way, we're following the tax laws, these Byzantine tax laws, you're actually hurting the workers in the companies and the consumers. That's what all the economic studies show. We also know that this bill is not going to reduce inflation because we have studies, including from this organization that Democrats have used in the past to look at these tax bills, that is saying that it's going to add to inflation over the next 2 years. And so that's true as well. So we don't have a bill here that helps with regard to the tax code. It makes it more complicated. It makes our economy less efficient. But it also is not going to help in terms of the biggest issue we face right now, which is the spiraling inflation.
Yeah, well, spiraling inflation and the threat of recession. Some people think we're in a recession. Some people front end of it. I mean, Senator Portman, seriously, is there one iota, scintilla, anything that promotes economic growth, entrepreneurship, free market efficiency? Look, you weren't quite there, but I was around when Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. You weren't quite there. I was there when he wrote that, and he said, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This bill is life, liberty, and the pursuit of government. That's all this is. This is massive government. John F. Kennedy, who I wrote about, who cut taxes and he was a capitalist, he'd roll over in his grave at what's happened to the Democratic Party. Even the Democrats who voted for the bipartisan, the tax reform bills in 1986. This Democratic Party now is, Newt is right. It's big government socialism.
Yeah. Well, you're right. And I mentioned this study earlier, the Penn-Wharton study, that says it actually adds to inflation. They also look at the economic growth here, and they come up with zero.
Yes.
In other words, they think there's just no growth potential in this. And I would argue that it actually, again, it's going to hurt in terms of complexity. The other thing that's interesting is when you set up a new tax system like the book tax, managers and companies are now going to manage toward that. In other words, taxes matter, and so it's inefficient to be managing a company, making decisions as to the allocation of capital based on a new tax system. And that's one of the things that was actually raised by the CPAs, the AICPA organization, the American Association of CPAs, came out against all this, even though it adds to complexity, which in the end is going to help them and help the accounting firms in general, because there'll be more companies coming to them and saying, what do I do here? But they said, this is not smart in terms of what you're talking about, which is making smart decisions on behalf of the Adam Smith
yes.
past of our country, which
yes.
is every little decision we make out there in the market should be toward efficiency and creating more economic opportunity for everyone. By the way, we were doing pretty well on that before the pandemic hit. We had 19 straight months of over 3% wage growth.
Yes.
We had the lowest poverty rate in the history of the country. Things were going well. We had the lowest unemployment rate ever for blacks, Hispanics, and so we were doing some of those right things with regard to taxes and regulations, which ended up helping everybody.
That's the thing.
Opportunity economy.
That's the thing, Senator Portman. The opportunities for everybody across the board, not just the rich and the donors and the insiders. And oh my God, don't get me started. Anyway, you're terrific. You've helped us so much walk through all this and define it. We are most grateful, and we hope to see you soon, Senator.